So, but put it on cloud. Yes, yes, put it on cloud. It's okay. Hey, folks, here we are for one more touchdown. I think this is the 11, 12, 12 or 13 touchdown that we're doing.
13.
Yeah, yeah, 13. And we have a lot of things happening. Uh, not only happening in the sense that each one of us here is really busy doing a lot of things. Uh, Maybe not Laurie because she's on vacation. Maybe. But we're already doing the wormhole thing, and it would be nice to Tibi to just contextualize a little bit his idea about wormhole, and uh, and Laurie was talking about this amazing friend that she has that is mapping works with collective intelligence, and it's mapping in a very interesting way, and we actually will have him next week. Will be nice, and that's good too because you see, I know a girl called a person called Livia. She's related to the Commons stack and token engineering. Remember
Yeah,
that, TB?
yeah, she's over at Dowstack.
Yeah, and she
Yeah.
will be with us. I don't
Oh,
know if
great.
next week or in the coming weeks, but she will be with us, right?
Oh, great.
And
Okay.
yeah, it will be nice because this is something that they are doing a lot of mapping too there, right? And so, TB, could you, my friend, contextualize a little bit about the wormhole uh, dynamics that we established between discords, between Sensorica Discord and Taudao's Discord?
Yeah, well, you
If you
put me on the
already,
spot.
if you already waked up, if you're already with your cup of coffee, of course.
I didn't have my coffee, but I had a call from my mom, which is she's traveling in Romania, so she wakes me up, uh, when she calls. Um, yeah. So what they're trying to do is establish a sort of a way for people within the Sensorica environment to find Tao Dao, and vice versa, people from Tao Dao to find Sensorica. So we're putting a sort of a door, a portal on each other's digital environment, um, so that we can find ourselves. So the way you implemented it is by creating a Sensorica channel. And I was already thinking about what would be pertinent to post there, and um, and what I have to do on our side. Well, I put a link to, no, I still don't have the link to Taodao, right? So I gotta put the link to this Discord. Yes, okay. And I put a link to this Discord so people from Sensorica, they can see that they have access to the Taodao community through that link. So the whole idea here is to allow two networks to exchange something, okay, to allow some information to flow between them by putting what we call these formal bridges or these wormholes to travel from one one universe to another. It's just a start, yeah. See what where it leads, and as we experiment with the various ways to interface with other networks, maybe we get some. Oh, yeah, can abstract some ideas, and I'm happy to see Lori's friend to see what he can propose as tools.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
right.
there's another aspect that I think that it's really relevant that uh, we have to be or conscious about it. That is the interactive flow of things, not in an organized fashion manner, in the sense that, oh, here's the data, right? Here's the
Yeah.
data, here's the tools, but how this interactive flow between people open not not gate, not portals, but opens the person itself to be accessed by another, right? Because you see, when we open ourselves to really interact, we all not only perform interaction. We want to perform in the sense that we because we in daily basis we use a lot of frameworks, right? Working frame, work frameworks, family frameworks, social frameworks to, let's say, interact with people. But we're 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 not really interacting in the sense that we're open ourselves to be accessed, and we're just monologuing in a very sophisticated dialogical way, right? We're not really open to feel each other. Uh, when what I'm trying to say here is that when we really open ourselves to interact, right? We really open ourselves to interact. We feel it. We can feel it in the skin. We can feel it in the eyes. We can see a transformative thing happening between, not only in our bodies, in our senses, but in between us, right? And this
Yeah.
interactive flow, he is embedded in a very social technology that we have as a species, that are this capability to be empathic
Hmm.
between us, even if we don't speak the same language, right? Even that thing, Lauren, that I call the transcensing, right? So we could try to experiment in this wormhole. What could be this transcensing proposal that emerged in one of the experiments of Kikolab? And it would be nice to see what is this in the practice. Is it artistic, or only artistic rendition? Is it something that it's not able to be expressed in language, right? It's what is this, right? I think that this is the underlying great exploration that we're going to do with this wormhole proposal, TB, at least at my perspective. You see, I like to add this because I think that this is a very rich environment. This is a very rich take, a very rich understanding. We don't have understanding about it, right? We don't have understanding about it. And in my sense, in this all this convergence that is happening all over the planet now, between cultures, folklore, languages. Just transcending is not only a tool, is maybe something related to our own evolution as a species. I don't know. What do you think, Lauren?
Yeah, that's super interesting. I've been spending the last couple weeks doing exercises to increase my intuition and systematically. So I think that's very interesting. And I also just wanted to add, like, when we're creating these wormholes, what is the point of the wormholes? Like, is it to share data? For me, the most important thing would be to see how we can kind of find our soulmates in the other organizations. So it's those like strong people connections of people who would really really appreciate one another and get a lot of richness out of these other people, and less of like, the data of the organization, so as to create those kind of ties, these natural ties of people actually liking each other and making good friends, and then the data naturally flows through as people gossip. um but yeah, that would be my, so that would be how I would design it, with thinking like, how do we form these social bonds between these orgs.
Yeah, one thing that came to me was the Warm Data Lab. That what's her name? It's I forgot her
Laura
name.
Bateman?
Yeah, Bates. It's Bates. Is his last name, isn't it?
Laura
Uh,
Bateman.
is the Warm Data? Yeah, Warm Data Lab. Bateson. It's Bateson. That's not Bates. It's Bateson. And it's a really interesting take that she's doing. And I don't know if you guys know her, but it would be nice to have her here in one of the weekly sessions of ours, weekly
Hmm.
touchdowns, to talk about what about her take about warm data, right? Because I think that this transcensing proposal has a direct relation with warm data, and but it's not defined by it, right? It's not defined by the what she's calling warm data. And but I see, and for me at least, I don't know about you guys, but for me at least, when we're talking about wealth transfer in a very transmutation way, in a very evolving way, we're not only talking of course of new new economics, right? In a sense that like we already have with collaborative or sharing economies, right? I think that is more profound, in my understanding. This because why? Because it's, you see, to be in when you were referring to the advent of internet and in the last 25 years, right? When internet established a new economic model, a new way to generate wealth in a digital realm. It was still in having as a framework the actual ethos of the society as we know it, right? The ethos, and now, in my understanding, where this ethos doesn't serve us anymore, right? And now we have the liberty to co-create ethos in between us, like the digital nomads already have been co-created, co-creating for decades now. And I think that so this means that the type of wealth that we're talking here is related to healing, that OCAS experience that you had with Hannah and Ugu. In my understanding, a very deep healing dynamics, right? And that's something that we really are not in touch with. We only got in touch with healing in very extremes, right? When we're in deep pain, right, or in deep depression, or I don't know, when we are completely lost in ourselves during a profound meditation, right? I think we only access the healing in extremes. And if we want to, let's say, not structure like Mason says, but if we want to resignify, right, our infrastructures, or we have to focus on our superstructures. And our superstructures, they come from this empathic flow in between us. But when we can heal ourselves because we are regenerative beings, right? And we can heal in between us. So this type of healing, and my understanding, is one of the drivers of a new kind of wealth, right? And this can, of course, re-signify our own understanding of what is wealth, right? What is wealth in this collapsing times that we're living in. I don't know if you guys agree with my take and my perspective, but it would be nice to have some feedback from you.
I I don't really understand this dimension because it's not something that I spend a lot of time thinking about or researching. Maybe the way I can understand from my perspective is what you say by healing is like the community support, the sense of community. It's this idea of solidarity, of mutual support. That's what I understand, which could be healing in a sense that provides us yeah, a sense of security, right? And sometimes when things go bad, we have some understanding, some empathic listening from others, and so on and so forth. So we have the benefits of being with others, right? And sharing some values and ethos, and then building some relationship. That's how I understand it, Vinny. I that's how much I could dive in that direction, which is yes, which is a sort of a form of wealth, but it's not just how should I say specific. If because now I'm just taking your concept and probably just modifying it according to my vision of the world, and to a point where it doesn't resemble what what you meant. um, because because I don't have the same spirituality. You know what I'm saying? We don't share the same spirituality.
But that's the thing. That's the thing, Tibi. You don't need to have the same. You see, I think that we're in a time that all sorts of perspectives and all sorts of understanding are very welcome to become a
Yeah.
type of patchwork, a
Oh, for sure.
patchwork of perspectives. And
Yeah.
your type of vibration will really found some frequency to sync with my type of vibration, so on and so on and so on and so on. This makes us now I say to you, uh, uh, access a type of conscience that it's not so material related, it's not so materialistic related, is not so bounded to our the movements of our own body, right? Like the movements that we can make uh, as a species with our own body is something that is more in a mental realm, but it's also in a very let's say heart realm. But I know that when I speak like this, I may be sounding with this white beard like a guru, but that's not what I meant here. What I'm saying that we're so exhausted by the type of society that we became that we really being really the better move that we can make as a species is to nurture ourselves and to because if we nurture ourselves we can access ourselves, we can heal ourselves, right? And not only ourselves in a very human centric way, but ourselves in a set looking 360 around, right? Looking at all forms of life, right? We have to reestablish this deep connection that we have with the nature of this planet and all the capabilities that we have to aggregate ourselves, not only as communities, because I think communities is something very still something very superficial, is not something very deep, is not deepen inside our capabilities to really lock in, interact, feel ourselves beyond, right? Beyond the beyond the understand the rational understanding that we have about ourselves. That what I'm trying to convey here is this: we overthink the the rationality perspective, right? A lot in a very materialistic way, and we have a lot of accumulations to deal with, a lot of structure to deal with, and in my understanding, we have to make a type of detox of all this overwhelming superstructures, a lot of structure, a lot of accumulation around us, and I'm not only talking. I'm not talking in a minimalistic way, but I'm talking in a very uh, 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 health way, because I don't know about you guys, but I'm not the type of guy that I buy things because I have been accessing things from years now, from decades. So and I don't have a need to buy anything, or I really have real need to buy some things, and this makes my I feel myself very healthy, not only in a physical way, but in a very spiritual way, like you put it, TB, or in a very human way. I feel I feel that I can open my arms and hug you guys through eternity. You see, because what I'm saying is that I'm so open to feel you, to access you, that this nurtures me, and this nurtures me to have this very essence, this very pure energy, let's say pure life energy, right? Uh, to to make myself even more open to anyone, right? Even more being feeling myself very interdependent between other peers, right? And and I feel this is not something because I feel this way. I feel this is a very uh, social technology thing that we have as a species. So that
Mhm.
this is what I'm trying to put here. Uh, that's it. I don't know if Laurie has something to add to this, but in my understanding, what type of exploration that we're going to do with the wormhole proposal passes through this too. Because you see, Tao Dao is something like that, right? The folks that come to Tao Dao, they
Yeah.
come completely exhausted. They don't come with projects. They don't come.
Mhm.
Uh, 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 they come like they come. You see, they come in various ways, but they come with the spirit of the openness to what is this. How can I be part of something that is different from what I always done in my life, uh, my whole life, right? Like having a work or having a business or having
Yeah.
or my investments or things like that. And how, what is this? What are you guys doing that is different from the way that we have? I spend my whole life doing, right? So that's the spirit of the folks that are coming to Tao Dao's gatherings weekly,
Mhm.
and and I found this is so profound because you feel that they are not armed, let's say, to to make a rational critique about it in the first place. They don't come. The folks don't come uh, thinking that this is an opportunity to talk about my business or my endeavor or things like that, my project, my initiative. They are really seeking something that is a different has a different taste, have a different context, a different sensing of reality and of being in this reality or co-creating another reality, right? So that's my take.
Laurie, you have something to add here?
Nope, you?
Yeah. Well, um, I would like to have one of these gatherings, Vinny, and maybe we can announce it somewhere about post rationality. So I hear um, um, here and there people talking about a sort of a new wave in humanity, and sort of a new step in social evolution. So the age of the Enlightenment is where rationality kicked in and became a sort of a mainstream way of thinking. um, Science took over religion, and then everything was seen through the lens of engineering. Um, so now people say that we are at a stage in our society where um, we move out of that into some new era, which is like a post-national era. But it doesn't mean that we're moving into. So these people say that this trend is not necessarily moving into how should I say some esoteric, era, but it's first and foremost recognizing the that rationality is um, has a lot of problems. It's that um, human beings are not um, able to understand reality in its full complexity, and so logic and rationality are tools that are imperfect to deal with reality and complexity. So then there are other forms of understanding and building knowledge and building understanding of reality, that follow different norms. Okay, so um, all that to say that it's it's like sort of recognizing that logic fails, and our epistemology, let's say, it's not as foolproof as we think about it. Okay, and humans fail a lot when they reason or trying to understand the world. Okay, based on rationality. But it doesn't mean that we fall back into religion or fall back into you know um, um, esoteric stuff. It's just another type of epistemology that it's kind of kicking in. So I'd like to dive deeper into that. And maybe some people are more on the spiritual side and they'll be very fine, you know. But I would like to dive deeper into that because I see it popping up more and more, and I'm not very knowledgeable about it. But I do sense that, and I do sense, Vinny, I do sense it in you. It's like you have a very strong pull towards that, you know. At least what I sense from you is very strong skepticism for rationality, you know, and trying to explore other forms of understanding reality, feeling reality, you know, being in reality, which is very, very interesting, very interesting. You know, I have to, I'm the first
Yeah.
one to admit that I have to go through a detox, you know. So I would like to dive deeper into that. Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's interesting. You see, here in Brazil, we have a lot of, as any country that is classified of has the classification of a third world, right? Country, or third world to second world. I think this classification is horrible, right? It's terrible, right?
Yeah.
But it exists, right? And people culturally and socially embed this type of classification. It's driven by economics, right? Like the economic mindset of the 20th century
Yeah.
classified, divides ourselves in worlds, right?
Yeah.
And said what each of the second and third world needs to become a first world. Wow, man, this is horrible. This is terrible, but it exists, right? So when you go to talk with little farmers in the countryside here in Brazil, they are totally embedded in this territorial, profound localism, where they're very dependent of the macroeconomics of, let's say, a third world or second world country, right? And with
Mm-hmm.
all the
Mm-hmm.
externalities, with all the oppressions and things like that. So figure that, put that, put this in perspective, so you folks will understand what I'm saying. Well, I made a deep connection with little farmers, that they have
Mm-hmm.
difficulties to have their crops, to have their harvest, things like that, or to sell it. They have difficulties to do this. And I was talking about the E2C token. That E2C token is related to, as I don't know if Lauren knows about E2C token. I think that I talk a little bit about with Tibi. The E2C token, understand, is a type of currency that is related to the commons, right? A type of currency that understands that whatever you do for the commons, right? Whatever you do for the commons, you're creating wealth, right? You're creating wealth.
Mm-hmm.
You're creating a type of wealth that is very necessary for our profound transition as the ethos of as civilizations, right? And in this sense, when you do something for the commons, right, you issue a quantity of E2C tokens for this person, right? Anyone can issue. It doesn't is not dependable of an algorithmic. It doesn't is not dependable of a blockchain or any type of sort of technology. Is a very social peer-to-peer empathic technology. When when let's say Lauren sees that TB is doing a lot of good things with the Open Value Network, with the OVN, right, at Sensorica, and now it's creating a new OVN with Holochain. And this is a great commons. This is being co-created, so Loudon can recognize you, TB, and can issue a quantity of E2C tokens for you, right? And we can transfer these E2C tokens in access. We transfer these E2C tokens in access, all sorts of access, tools, knowledge, logistics, housing, even fiat money, right? So we were talking about this with this little farmers, this micro farmers, let's say, because they have a little property, and here in Juiz de Fora is a city here in Brazil, in the countryside of Juiz de Fora, and we were talking with them about this proposal, and one of them called Valtencir, his name is Valtencir. He actually loved the proposal, the concept of it. He was very so how I say exhausted by the actual macroeconomic system that he opened himself, right, in a very post-rationality way, right, like you put it, Tibi, to interact with me and others that were doing this here in Brazil. And I said to him, well, if you, Valtencir, if you separate a little fraction of your crops, right, and put it to the commons, put it at the disposal to the commons, and for anyone that has been recognized and earned, right, and received, not earned, and received E2C tokens, people can really transform the quantity that they receive, transform in access to access your crops, right, to access your goods, right, and what he will do with the E2C tokens that he receives, he can transform in access to tools, to knowledge, and he won't have the necessity to use reals, right, or dollars or euros to pay for these tools, to pay for this knowledge. So his cost production, my friend, goes really low, and he saw the benefit. He saw the benefit of it. So what is happening? That Valtencir talked to another guy named Julio, talked to another guy named Arthur, and they are really they're really fascinated by this concept, right? And it's fascinating too, because they never heard about the commons before, right? They never heard about peer-to-peer paradigm or even the commons, let's say. They're very embedded in the logic of the society as we know it, right? They have to sell it, they have to harvest, they have to crop, they have to survive, right? To survive. So they are very, and now what we're doing what they call empathic peer-to-peer logistics to their crops, goes to folks all over Brazil, right, that has been recognized and received E2C tokens, right? So this is an experiment. This is a very profound social experiment in this very needing times, and it's happening, right? So it's not something theoretical, it's not academical, it's something, it's not a research, academic research, it's something that is happening. So but why is it happening? It's happening because folks understands that the actual way that we're still living as societies doesn't have any future anymore, doesn't function anymore. So this is an example I want to share with you guys.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. And
I'd like to take part in one of these experiments to see how it's so difficult to understand until you participate, I think.
Yeah,
because it's difficult to, you see, you can have an intellectual, let's say, a rational take of it, as I'm trying to contextualize here and explain to you folks. But
Mhm.
only when you open yourself to experiment it, do you understand how it works, right? And really in the level of the empathic social technology that we all have as a species, and in the level of the intuition and things like that. And it's so curious. It's so curious to see TB and Louding how 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 they are looking to their crops, right, and seeing their crops in another way. They're not seeing the crops only as as the, let's say,
Commodities.
the commodities, yeah, to sell on the market. They are seeing the crops as food, organic foods, very good organic food to folks that are doing so much things to the commons as a whole, are doing all over Brazil and all over the planet. So it's really nice to see how folks like them that never heard about the commons, never heard about the peer-to-peer paradigm, they understand the proposal of the ETC token. So
But
that what I want to share.
on the technical side, like how do I know who to give my crops to? Like, what is this token? How does it exist? How do I
Yeah,
know
because
that?
you see, you don't give the crops. You just I would say you, you took a part of it, a fraction of it,
And make
right?
it
Not,
available.
yeah, make it available. Yeah, that's it. You make it available to anyone that received ETC tokens to transform and access to this organic good food.
But what do you mean by receiving? Where is this token? If it's not on a
Yeah,
blockchain or something, or on a
yeah,
piece of
it's
paper.
well, yeah, it's a piece. It's not a piece of paper. It's we have we're working with that Google Doc. We're a spreadsheet. We made a spreadsheet, right?
Ah, okay,
And
okay.
we all the transactions are there. I can share with you guys, so you guys see all the
Interesting. So
transactions.
it's very
Actually,
low
we have
tech
around,
proof of concept. It's like a
yeah,
very
totally,
low tech proof of
very low
concept.
tech.
Okay. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting to see the dynamic how people engage in it. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So you are a monk,
and
right? You not a monk. You are a, how do you say? Not a monk. I would say an evangelist, right? That goes from town to town to spread the new the good news, the salvation. You know, like the Franciscans. You know, they walk barefooted with a cane.
almost that, almost
Yeah.
that. But you see, the paradigm is not the local one; it's the global one, right? It's the hyper local
Yeah.
and planetary one. So this, so it's a type of monk, of an evangelist. I don't see myself. I see myself as a net weaver, right? As a commoner, but nothing else like that. I really see myself as a net weaver and as a commoner, but that's it.
Yeah.
And
Michel Bounds.
I don't evangel. Yes, I don't envision. I know that he was a monk in his past. Or he became one, or tried to become one. I don't know. You can talk about it a little bit, but he talked very little about this with me when he was here in Brazil, but about his monk past. But what I'm saying is that it's interesting to see how. Because you see, it's not a matter to I'm not evangelizing anyone. I'm only really interacting, talking about a perspective that otherwise folks would never hear about it, or
Yeah.
hear only if would hear if another one that already has this perspective would talk with them, right? So I'm not really in a mission here. Let's put it this way.
Okay.
I'm really, I don't feel myself in a mission. I just
But there's
understand that
nothing
we're
wrong with
tapping.
that. I would appreciate that very much. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying it in a negative way. You know, I'm saying it. I see myself like that too. You know, as an evangelist. I'm saying it in a very positive way. And there is parallels between between feudal,
Oh,
the feudal times and today. So suppose like the Fab Labs and maker spaces are the monasteries where people learn things, and
uh, Chibi.
yes.
I have a friend here
Hmm.
that she knows about ETC token too. Her name is Samara,
Yeah.
and she's one of the co-initiators of the ETC token with me and
Hmm.
several other guys. And if it would be nice if she's now accessing the first crops that of some of these farmers that I was talking with you folks about. And well, here she is, Samara,
Hello, nice to meet you.
Hello. Hi, hi, hi.
Lauren, and Tibi.
Hi, Lauren
Nice
and
to meet
TV.
you.
Yeah, we just received today this huge amount of broccoli, pumpkins, beans, all kinds of food you can imagine. And yeah, it's great to know that it's coming from this place and coming for free, right? From
ETC
the
token,
farm,
yeah.
yeah, with the token. It's a place that we
Mhm.
want to go in the next weeks to be there and help raise the crops and take care of the place. So
Oh,
we're
interesting.
now
Okay.
moving out of this place where we're living right now, and we're probably going to spend some time there in this farm.
Okay, so let me just can you explain it gently to me? So the farmers set aside some amount of their crops for this token to give to the commons. Is that it?
Yes,
And
yes.
then other people, they can everyone in the group can issue their own their own tokens, any amount that they want for something that they appreciate.
Yes. So I
Okay.
think one thing to note is that it's not a group, it's more of a network.
Okay.
So it's not restricted to people who are in or out. Anyone who gets in touch with this idea is able to
Hmm.
create emit tokens, right?
Issue.
Issue tokens. Um, and the tokens can be issued for anything that one person does that is for the commons. So usually if I see someone that is doing something that I think is relevant for the commons, I
Mhm.
can issue any amount of tokens to this person who's doing this thing. And this person has then
Transform in access.
this person then will have tokens that can be used to access several kinds of things. So for example, they can access food or these crops, or they can access places
Logistics.
to stay
Yeah.
if they're going to another city and other people want to offer their own place for them to stay, for example, that can be done through the tokens.
Yeah. Knowledge.
Yeah, or knowledge, or if you want to
Tools.
learn
Yeah.
anything basically, that some people that want to that really value this kind of actions and this kind of ecosystem, they
Yeah.
offer things or knowledge or whatever they want to offer for those people who have the tokens, because it's a way for them to make this ecosystem valuable, right?
Hmm. Hmm. But
So
how
it's
much you
something
know?
that I really want to encourage other people to do things for the commons. So if I have space in my home, I can
Yeah.
say, well, I'm offering this space for people who want
Hmm.
to travel, want to come here and stay with us for a while, because I want to value people who are doing things for the commons. So
Hmm.
that's the logic that's behind this token.
The no logic.
So how do you talking about tokens? It's a quantity, right? So how do you quantify
Yeah, that's the thing. It's
when you
not
give your appreciation to something?
the number doesn't matter. That's the thing.
It's a very
It's a,
allegorical.
yeah, it's more symbolic, right?
Yeah,
It's more
symbolic.
the idea that you're recognizing someone. It doesn't matter if it's one E2C, if it's 1 million, it doesn't matter. And also when you're liquidar, como é que é em inglês?
Transforming X is the
Yeah,
best way.
I don't know the word in English, but when
We're transforming
and
axis.
transforming and access the token. Um, Also, for example, this week I was talking to one of the guys that's raising the crops that we just received, because I transformed. Uh, I recognize that the work he's doing is good for the commons. So I transferred to him some amount in fiduciary uh, money, right? Because they need it for the farm. So when I do that act, I talk to him and I ask how many tokens do you want to
To transform an axis.
transform? We need to find other
Yes, yes,
better
yes,
way
yes,
to,
yes, yes, yes.
because well, how much are you going to
Burn. Yeah.
How
burn.
many E2Cs you want to burn? And then he told me, yeah, well, 0.5. So this one, I transferred to him 100 reais, and he said, okay, I'm going to burn 0.5 tokens. So it doesn't really matter how much. It's more about the interaction that happens between these two people when this process happens.
And the
Because
mutual access that happens between you. That's really
yes,
interesting.
yeah, true. So, I mean, if I have one token, I can burn 0.005, and it doesn't really matter how many tokens, because there is no parity, you know. It's not, there's no equivalence to reais or to dollars. That's not the point, because the whole point is that we are valuing together. We are talking to each other. So I'm talking to him. I got to know him because of that. So I got in touch with him and I said, oh, I think it's really valuable what you're doing. So I know you need reais now. So we talked about it, and then we created this connection, this bond. Yeah.
Maybe there is
the amount of tokens.
Maybe there is a more qualitative symbolic system that could represent what you're doing, because as soon as you quantify and use tokens that are discrete, you know, can be represented by discrete numbers, then you get into the quantity thinking and the quantity equivalents and all that stuff. So you get into these dynamics that but there might be some qualitative symbolic systems that you could use. And the guy to read or to talk to about that is Arthur Brook from Holochain. He has written a lot on currency, which is not the same as currency. Currency is like the tokenized value exchange system. Tokens as units of account that can be represented by numbers. Currency is a generalization of that, saying that we can have all kinds of symbolic systems. A currency is a symbolic system that reorganizes flows in nature or society. So let's say he gives this example of a ticket to a football game is a currency that organizes the flow of individuals in space as they go through the door of the stadium and they take a seat. They provides access to a space, and then it provides a distribution for an individual to a seat in that space. And there is, a diploma is a currency, and it represents my skills, and it opens access. So it organizes flow in society of skills to jobs. Okay. I have a diploma of a doctor, so it organizes how these people with this kind of currency flow to tasks of medical tasks, right? I cannot play the doctor because I don't have a diploma. So the diploma is not a currency. It's not a sort of a quantity, but it's a currency, which is a symbol that has a standard in society, and and represents not a quantity, but represents an appreciation of my skills, So it's a qualitative system. It's not a quantitative, two diplomas, they can't tell you who knows more, right? There is no quantity. It's just a token of appreciation, but not a token of quantity. So anyway, but it's very interesting. Wow. This is pretty cool. But Arthur Brook maybe he has some ideas into what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I would say for me, it's if the number doesn't matter, then it's probably more. So I think when you're designing these currencies, a lot of times you might have just you might be onto something really amazing, and the way that you talk about it is really important because people have these uh mental constructions in their mind, and so if you even have them issuing quantity, that could be perpetually confusing to people because they already have this whole construct of quantity and what that means. So I almost think that if the quantity doesn't matter, it would be less confusing just to make it a color or something like that.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
to make it symbolic. I've been doing these tarot card readings, and that's actually very that would be interesting because each of these cards has a symbol which actually translates into many different languages. And it's like it's like a appreciation of um quality, or like where is something at, um where is something at in the maturity cycle, and what kind of thing is this thing doing, like how is it appreciated is really the question. So I almost think if it doesn't matter how much you issue, maybe just to do a different concept, that would be less confusing to people. And it's basically the same design. You can have the same design, but just these certain things, once you put a concept in there like quantity, then people are like, this doesn't make any sense. It just will not make sense to them because like currency and quantity, if you just say those things, they already have the construct which cannot be taken down. So even sometimes even calling these things money might get in the way because people just have a certain um you know view of how money works, so they just cannot understand it because it doesn't work in with this view. So that's just
Interesting. But maybe we're gonna do something like that in Sensorica. Maybe I can propose something like that. But you know what? Yeah, very interesting points, Larry. Very interesting. But to continue on the experiment, Vinny, the stupidity of capitalism. Are you there, Vinny? Yeah, he's there. The stupidity of capitalism here is that when farmers have excess capacity or excess, products, they burn it, they throw it away. So you say the farmer says, I'm going to allocate 10% of my crops for the commons, and people come and serve themselves if they show some symbol of appreciation from others, right? Let's say like that. In Canada, if you have extra crop,
I need to go. I just want to say,
yes,
was nice to meet you.
oh, thank you, thank you very much.
And thanks for I think it was great to see the perspective, and I think those were great ideas.
Bye, Tamara. It was like great to see you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so they threw it away, not to lose the price, not to how do you say, diminish the price on the market. So isn't that stupid? Like, why don't you put it in a commons? You know what I'm saying? But people are programmed to think market, and they threw stuff away instead of saying, you know what, I'm gonna put it in a shared vault, and everybody throws their excess capacity here, or excess excess
Yeah,
production here.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. Totally crazy.
I mean, it works.
So
It
was
works
nice
the opposite way.
Yeah, totally the opposite. And it was not. It was nice that Samara had the time to share a little bit of her perspective of this proposal, the HTC token. This, I think it as a social peer-to-peer technology, a very powerful one because it's related to empathy, right? And it's related to the commons, and it's related to abundance logic and things like that. And that's the type of ethos, my friends, that we're. I feel that this as a whole field, let's say, a whole field in a global perspective to be co-created. And I think, Tibi, that these ingredients, this perspective, could be ingrained in this new OVN that you are seeking to build with, to structure with Arthur Brock and Holochain, right? Because I don't see it. I don't see it in the sense, but it's something that we can. I don't know. It's a type of thing that is. It's already there, right? It's just a matter to folks to see it, to have conscience about it. Like I said, this farmers, they don't have. They never heard about peer-to-peer paradigm, never heard about the commons, right? But they love the concept of the E2C token. So here we go. Well,
very interesting.
That was quite a ride, isn't it?
Yeah,
that was quite a ride.
Well, thanks for sharing your experience at the farm. I mean, it's really, really interesting. It gives me some ideas. I'm going to take some notes, and I'm going to put a request to Sensoricans because we have something similar. We have something that we call pool of shareables. Pool of shareables.
Yeah.
Okay. But we didn't take the concept as far as that. So yeah, interesting. It gives me some ideas to put some things into motion.
Yeah, it's very important to understand that it's not community related. It's very networking related. It's very open to anyone. You don't have to be an activist. You don't have to be a commoner. You don't have to be a leftist. You don't have to be any of these categories that we created in this actual society that we still are, right? And this radical openness that I was talking about was about. He thought that when I shared with him this about this, he thought this I was more talking a more philosophical level. Like, no, it's not only philosophical, experimental. We're creating by this new ontology, we're creating new epistemology, new, let's say, empathic epistemologies.
Interesting, very interesting.
So,
yes.
Yeah, and that's what I call, Tibi, this very profound peer-to-peer rooted way to do things. You see, and my critique about all things around the commons is not only the activism that makes it more, let's say, close-sourced to the guys that knows about the commons, or to the academic guys that research the commons or the peer-to-peer environment, right? I know that you have the same critique, right? So that's why I'm saying this. But what I'm saying is, when you intertwine, right, the peer-to-peer dynamics, right, and you intertwine with complexity doing, right, not complexity thinking, but complexity doing. When you open yourself to the unexpected, right? When you open yourself to the flow, to the flux of interactivity between beings, between complex beings, it's really, really interesting what emerges, what configures. Even because you didn't plan nothing, right? You didn't actually plan anything, and the things just emerges. We're trying. It's like a mimic. We're mimicking nature itself, right? We're trying to mimic nature itself in a very disingenuous way. We're not, let's say, being here. We're not being pretentious. It's not being. I want to change the world. It's not that type of vibe, right?
Yeah.
It's a different vibe. It's a very different vibe, and it's interesting of the timing of it. The timing is different. It's not the productivity timing of things, right? It's it's just something that goes with the desire of doing things. Desire. I think the desire is something very powerful here. The desire to get to know you guys. The desire to flow with you guys. The desire to materialize, to do something with you guys, right? That's it. It's simple and it's complex at the same time. And I know that the type of the thinking that floats around is, but this can't be viable to, let's say, a city or a community or a whole society. How could we thrive in such a manner? You see, that's the type of questions that I get a lot.
Yeah, but this is an experiment which can find its way for scaling, can develop its own scaling mechanisms, and maybe it doesn't scale, but it's still relevant. I mean, it's still relevant for the people that engage in this kind of thing, you know. But it's a very relevant topic for wealth and wealth transfer. So yeah, this experience is totally relevant for our discussions today, because it opens a lot of questions in my mind. Yeah, for sure, and it changes.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
It would be nice. I don't know if Lauren has the time now, but it would be nice if we could, even through Discord, right? In Discord, using the video conference or the audio conference of Discord, just to unpack this. I would love to unpack this with you guys, and would love to map this out a little bit, because I sense that we need to do this, because you see all the work that Hugo did with the 7 vortex mapping, the deep knowledge, what he calls it, is already fantastic, right? All the work that Lauren does with Kikolab and the brave spaces and all these concepts is fantastic too. But wow, what we can actually do to make this tangible to anyone that's already involved in this initiative, right? Because you see, I'm really with my feet on the ground here, right? Doing a lot of things, and I know that you guys are too. But how can we make this palatable, tangible, for the folks that are in this move with us, with the folks that are related to this impact investor real, that I know a lot of them, and you know too, Tibi, because I feel that we have a real blueprint there, or a lot of blueprints, right? We really have something. We're tapping into something that it's fresh and it's ancient at the same time, right? And it can serve as a framework to anyone to pop in, right? To jump in and co-create and make this happen in various ways. I don't know.
It's an open question, I guess.
Yeah, totally. But I see what I'm saying here is, would it come the time that we actually visualize this better? We put this in some visual information and some infographic. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying this because. Yeah, Laurie, let's do this. Yeah, because you see, it's such a. If you guys understand, I think that you guys can understand what I'm saying here, because you saw how Samara is very passionate about it. It's very, she's very in it. She's really driving driving it. And it's not only her. There's dozens, hundreds of people that are already doing this experiment. So, and I'm not only talking about E2C tokens. I'm talking about Tao. I'm talking about this new OVN that you want to co-create Tibi with Holochain, right? I'm talking about the brave spaces of Ticolab. I'm talking about transensing. I'm talking all this. I think that we need to we need to understand better how to mesh these things up, right?
Yes, it's a whole process. It's a whole process, Vinny, and yeah. So it's not for nothing that we talk about wormholes and bridges and all that. It's kind of everything precipitates slowly. You know what I'm saying? Um, I think it becomes more clear on different dimensions, and it's a process. What I was thinking about doing now, I was thinking about, because who processes this information is us, and it stays in our heads, and we record some videos, but they're not widely available. Nobody sees them. We can apply some.
I'm uploading them to a YouTube account, so they're becoming available. But go
okay.
on, please.
Interesting. Okay, that would be nice to have them, because I'm into video processing, video editing now. So I would take a few gems here and there and remix and make different compositions of these discussions. That would be nice if you can upload them. But so we do need to apply some social intelligence here. So Lori, as you call her, you could maybe think about putting in place a process so that we could apply some of your techniques to this content, and look at it from a holistic perspective, and see how we could abstract or maybe synthesize and make it more tangible. But what I was thinking to do on my level as an individual, more concretely, as we were advancing into this, the idea popped up in my head like 10 minutes ago, was what if I take the most important thing that for me came out in these discussions that we have weekly, and make a summary video for Sensorica, or maybe send an email to Sensorica and say, this is my takeaway from these discussions, and I think these are interesting ideas to discuss or implement, or start experimenting with. So I could take from here and dump there, in my way, which is very limited, because it gets filtered by my brain to the other side. There are other channels that are more rich. Let's say we put up some videos online so people watch, or we do some remixes of these discussions so that we give them full access to the ideas, how they are discussed, and not just through me. But it's still something. It's still something for me to take from here and dump there. And I was thinking about doing that. My takeaways from these discussions, for people that didn't have a chance to attend, some sort of a digested way of, I digest information, pre-digest information for the network according to what I believe would be more relevant for them, so they don't waste an hour to listen to a discussion. But
yeah, I mean, I think that, so this is one of the major things of what I do, and I have not solved this problem, but this is a problem that I'm interested in and spend a lot of time on it. You could say I waste a lot of time on this problem, if you'd like to be more honest. But I think that is one thing we can talk about next week with Vincent here, because Charles is trying to solve this problem. So I mean, right now, if it was like 2000, it would be like amazing to put these videos on YouTube and have them be accessed because there's so little content back then. It's like, oh, people might have the time to actually watch it. Right now, there's so much content that making it available isn't necessarily providing so much more than not making it available. Because
Mm-hmm.
no one has the time to go back and actually watch it. So it's really like the sense making of doing this, like the process of um, making a wrap, like at the end, like what did we actually learn through this?
Yeah.
And like one thing I really like about Tiberius and you, Vinicius, because Vinicius, um you initiate ideas, really kind of like radical ideas. And what I adore about Tiberius is Tiberius always asks, "Oh, that's a great idea. How can we actualize this idea? How can we put it into practice in some practical way so that it becomes a part of our culture?" And so I think that we could maybe come to an agreement about how we um, like like develop a methodology in terms of like what did we discuss, what were our analysis of this conversation, what were new ideas that we created together, and then how can we implement that throughout the week,
Mm-hmm.
and then making those available like five, if you can bring the conversation down from 1.5 hours to 5 minutes, that is significant progress, I think.
Yeah, yeah. And you know that Zoom records also the I think Zoom extracts text from voice, right? When you record Zoom, so you have access to the text. So somebody could process that and do the summary, the wrap up.
I also have Otter, and so I can. There's a transcription,
Mm-hmm.
so that's
Mm-hmm.
what I do, and that's it. But it's like no one has time for that either.
Yeah.
It's really like so. It's really like what's very helpful is making an index of what we talked about and when, so that people can see what was talked about and go right to which the part where they're actually interested in.
Interesting. Interesting. Making an index. Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but let us not forget that this is about walking the talk, right? So the experiments, Lauren, that you have been doing, and so the transition that Tiberius is doing with Historica, and all the things that I have been netweaving here and co-initiating, a lot of things, as you guys knows. This is the thing. We're doing it. We're not only talking about it. So
Mhm.
how this becomes an open invitation for everyone that's already doing this wealth transfer movement initiative with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a question. Is a question that arose right around in my mind here, because you see, it's not only about wow, this is great, but how can I deep dive in it? How can I connect with it, right?
Mhm.
Uh, it has to be something palatable in the sense of wow, I want to understand this. I want to become part of this. I want to co-create this. I want to enhance
Yeah.
it. I don't
So
know.
so it's not just building transparency, giving access to information to others, but it's building openness, right? So providing channels for others to do, right? To participate.
Yeah, yeah. In a very non-structural way, at least at the beginning. You see, because with my experience, what I feel is if what you're proposing of what you're doing is really open, right? Open to receive, to let's say accommodate the other's perspective, folks get stimulated to do it, right? They want to do it. They want to co-create with you too. That's happening with the E2C token. That happens with the Tao DAO environment. That's happening with all the things that I'm actually related to. So and I feel that that's really a thing, right? And when it's very over planned, very over methodized, or I don't know. Everything is prefigured out. Uh, Folks tends not to. Wow, that's great, but that's not for me, right?
Yeah, yeah, but among them ourselves, I think I think we should put in place some capturing mechanisms, like Lori says. At least somebody taking some notes and then goes into an index. That I think that helps too, without putting too much process, because it's also about connecting, right? Uh, like Vinny says, at the deep level, you know. So if you put too much process if you put too much process and we're focusing on taking notes and and doing all that, maybe we become more close and less spontaneous and less creative.
Yeah, we also might pay attention more if we have to actually produce something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we have Taudao. Taudao is this network of folks that are actually producing regenerative content in a very decentralized manner,
Mhm.
interactive, organic, and decentralized manner. And
Mhm.
I think that would be nice. I think that folks there would love to do something this way, to really have a 5 minute version of a 1 hour and a half touchdown of wealth transfer. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, they have the vibe, right? They are really tuned in this because they know that this is something very relevant, not only for their lives but for anyone, right? In a very open way. Uh, oh, I would like to add a perspective that now that we're here on the top of the hour of our touchdown, uh, I have a friend of mine here, Danilo. He's very related to mycelium networks. Really, just to give for guys here a little a little glimpse on your research on mycelial networks related to social. Here you go, Danilo.
Oh, hello.
Hi,
Hi,
Danilo.
hi. Nice to meet you.
What is the context here?
The wealth transfer. We're talking about wealth transfer to new blueprints and like Utopia, like Now, and things like that. And you do a deep dive in mycelium. And this is something that I know that you make a correlation with all social structures.
Oh gosh, I'm the middle of a move out. My head is totally somewhere else.
No problem.
But well, in regards to fungi and with wealth transfer. So first thing that comes to mind is how fungi naturally do that in out there in nature, in the sense of transferring not only wealth, well, that's a human-made concept, but transferring all sorts of things between plants and trees. Uh, and then we come to the metaphor of the wood wide web, being the mycelium underground, connecting all of mainly plants in any forest and ecosystem in a very complex and alive way, in the sense that by being living creatures, they have their own needs, but also their own will, if you will, and that's the core of how they connect all of these other living beings, um, and the study of that kind of dynamic and phenomena, I at least find very inspiring. Um, and I guess that applies also to the context of wealth transfer with all of this myriad of tokens that we are witnessing with distributed ledger technology. I guess that's as much as I can say right now, in the middle of what's going on here. But yeah, Vinny can forward other things that I have documented if it's of interest in terms of this kind of research, but also I've heard him mentioning Taodao. I've also been part of that, am part of that, as well as the E2C token. All right,
But are you
I'll
studying?
pass it on to him.
Are you studying this as a biologist or just?
Oh, no, not as a biologist. More as a curious person. But as of now, what I'm the way I'm touching that is via a Arduino based device where I can read electrical signatures from these beans, both in my own cultivation of mushrooms, but as well as in nature. And
Oh,
now I'm the verge of understanding what I'm reading, what it is that I am reading as a signal. So there's now venturing into software data analysis and those kinds of things. Um, yeah, but I don't have a background in biology per se, but I do enjoy that.
interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks for your
All
intervention.
right. Cheers.
That was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
that, yeah, it's a friend, a very good friend, and he's very in. He's one of the co-creators, one of the co-initiators of Tao Dao,
Mhm.
and Samara was one of the co-initiators of E2C tokens. So I'm surrounded with the gang here, right?
Impressive, yeah, yeah.
What? Who?
Yeah.
What? Do you have like a co-living situation there, or what? Where are you? All
Well,
these
well, Laurie,
around.
what happens is that I give up to have my own place 2 decades and a half ago, and in a very minimalistic way, in a very commoner way, I just access a lot of houses in a very open way, and as everything that I'm wearing, everything that I eat is very in a very interdependent way. So I don't buy things, I access things.
Mhm.
That's why the E2C token came naturally as a consequence. Because my take is, well, if I can live this way, any human being can live too, right? So when we thought about the E2C token, we thought that this would be nice to anyone tap on this, access, live this, right? So, and this is related to the E2 GLATS. I don't know if you guys, E2 GLATS is Global Experimental Station. It's a, it has a very soundable name, right? Very big name, and but it's actual something very experimental. It's Global Experimental Station for Open Science and P2P Social Technologies. We call it E2 GLATS. So that's why E2C tokens, E2 coin, E2C tokens. So E2 GLATS exists since 2014, and it's a very open learning environment related to abundance logic and the commons and complexity. And in a very net weaving way, folks has been establishing trails around how to recenify infrastructure, recenify housing, how to live in a very global manner, because it's the global paradigm. How you can live in a very global manner. So I would say that. Uh, so E2C tokens is related to E2 GLATS, this global experimental station, right? This is not an organization, it's not an institution. It's a meta organism, very interactive one. Yes, yeah, in a very in a very, let's say, non pretentious ways, because uh, I think that's the thing that attracts people. You see, Tibi, it doesn't have any type of pretension, uh, in a sense that let's change the world. No, no, it's really something very intentional. Like you have intentional communities, is a very intentional thing. It's very open to anyone. You don't need to be an activist or a leftist or a commoner or nothing like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Just be a human being, and and that's okay.
Disappearing and is disappearing.
Sorry about that. My fault.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Okay,
See,
I need to
and
go.
now, and now,
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
and now YouTube Labs has about hundreds of people, if not thousands, around here in Brazil and all Brazil.
Mhm.
And if you ask me, I don't know how much folks are co-creating things all over around because it's
Mhm.
really distributed, it's not even decentralized. It's really open, centralized, and folks just get the gist of it and start their own trails, their own open initiatives, and I think
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
it is.
It's really
Yes, yes,
wonderful.
yes. Yeah.
So, guys, kisses for your heart, and let's continue to communicate via Telegram, via Discord, because we have a lot of things to do, and it's
For sure.
so nice to be with you. Yes, so nice to be with you, to be always, and you, Louding, always too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Thanks for holding
Oh,
space
well,
too.
it would be
Yes.
yeah, it would be nice if one of you could give the reply in the email thread. TB, give one, a very good one, by the way. If you want, Laura, if you have the time, you could give a return of this touchdown today, right? And if you have the time, of course,
Mhm.
because I don't want to be only the guy doing that. So
Yes.
I said that to TB. So
Hey, there is,
okay,
will you do me a favor and send me the audio file, or did it just go into the cloud?
yeah. I think this is going to the cloud because if TB was recording
Yeah.
his
I think it's
smartphone,
put it into the cloud.
yeah, yeah.
If you want to send me the sound file, I can put it up on Otter and allow people to access the transcription.
So how do
Yeah,
I
I
stop
send you.
how do I stop recording? I just press end, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's it. Okay.
It doesn't work.
So, for
Okay.
let me see. I think that if we jump out, it will work, really.
Is there a way to wait a second because I don't want to? Oh, stop recording. Okay. Okay. Stop.